Good evening and welcome to Tune In with Talya. Hope everybody's doing wonderful and you're enjoying this beautiful spring weather. And I just wanted to say that I'm really excited to welcome a friend and an incredibly talented bass player, New York based bass player. His name is Daniel Ori. And Daniel, hey, welcome to my show.
Hey,
Hey,
thank you for having me.
it's a pleasure. Long time no see in person
Exactly.
and on screen.
I
But
love the opening and I love the black wall and I just ordered a black wall like that on Amazon. So
did you?
I'll have one soon. No, I'm just
Sweet.
kidding.
But maybe a green screen, yeah. You were
Yeah.
talking about. You know,
Yeah.
it's so much fun playing with all this new technology. Such a learning curve, you know?
Some of it's fun. Some
Yeah.
of it's been tricky.
Yeah.
Um, I've been complaining a lot because as a bass player, this Zoom is just not friendly to us rhythm section players
Yeah.
because of that few millisecond delay that totally destroys any kind of groove that anyone tries to make all over.
That's
So
true.
so bass players I think are not big fans of Zoom at this point. Um,
Yeah, that's true. It must be very hard with that delay. That does
but
not help.
that being said, it's incredible that we can do things like this, you know.
Yeah, and I want to talk later about this, but I know you created a whole album during this pandemic time, right?
Yeah, lots of music. I dove right as soon as when was this? Like in March. As soon as this started, I dove into this studio of mine and just a lot of things that have been happening. So just trying to stay productive and creative. I put it as a goal. It's gonna take this amount of time. I got to do this. I don't see
Yes.
any shows coming in the
Yeah,
horizon. Let's just make music in a different way, you know.
that's good. Yeah, and
Um,
you've been doing it, so congrats. And
Thank
doing a
you.
great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been checking out a lot of your videos and really loving it. It's awesome. I just want to tell people about you. So, Daniel Ori is an Israeli born bassist, composer, and producer, and a prominent voice in the New York contemporary jazz and world music scene. He has performed worldwide and collaborated with notable jazz musicians such as Lionel Loueke, Dave Liebman, Tim Higgins, Oz Noy, Mark Turner, and Kenwood Denard, to name a few. Ori is a graduate of the Berklee College of Music in Boston, as well as a winner of the 2009 ASCAP Jazz Composers Award. Daniel has released 2 solo albums and is currently leading and co-leading multiple projects. His music has been described as fresh, communicative, lyrical, and rhythmic, a blend of modern jazz with Middle Eastern roots and Pan-African influences. Nice.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's quite an impressive bio.
Thank you.
And I actually was trying to think about when I first actually met you. It was many years ago at a soiree, right?
Yes, I was thinking about that too because I just that just came up and I was thinking I know that I know Talia for a long time and I know it's not just through like Vasco
Yeah.
and the whole Long Island thing. And then I remembered that we had that whole evening that Oran
Yes.
Eldol that
Right.
he just set up that whole evening and I remember it just being, you know, I just met a few incredible musicians that evening that, you know, you being one of them that I just kind of relationship started that evening. So it's pretty cool, right? You remember
Yes.
that?
It was Nuriel's house, Nuriel's home, right? Nuriel
Yes.
Rubini. Yeah, he had the best parties. I miss those parties. When
Just
we could
like a
actually,
mix,
yeah,
a mix of people coming in and doing like one song, two
yeah.
songs, and then, yeah,
A lot of talent walking in and out of those doors.
right,
So that was fun. And we've performed here and there throughout the years.
right.
And just I've seen so many of your gigs and Always been a big fan of yours. So
Thank
it's
you.
great to have you on the
Me
show. And I want to learn more about you because I know things about you, but I don't know a lot, like everything about you. So today we'll cover just a little bit more, and for me
as
and for
much.
the viewers to get to know you.
Sounds
So
good.
I wanted to ask, what age did you start playing the bass, and when did you know that you wanted to do this professionally?
Good question. I've been telling this story a lot lately, just because um, I've been doing these workshops for bass and on Zoom for people all over the world. And I've just been finding myself telling this story a lot of how I started playing. Um, so for me, I come from a musical family. My grandmother was a pianist in Tel Aviv. Um, and under her wing were just many classical pianists who came up. I remember just sitting on her couch right by the grand piano and listening to incredible students playing very intimidating music that was totally not my bag. And this was way before I wanted to do anything in music. I just remember sitting down on the piano every time there was like a vacancy, like anyone, no
Yeah.
one's playing. I would just kind of creep over, sit on the piano, and I would just jam
Wow.
and just play. And then when she would come, she'd sit next to me, and she would just like take her hand and kind of like move your hand a little bit. Let me show you. Let me. And she
Wow.
just, in retrospect, she wanted to teach me, and I didn't want to be taught. I just did not want to be taught. So that was like a weird love-hate relationship with music for a while.
Mm.
Um, and then around the age of 11, my older brother, 2 years older than me, wanted a bass. He's really like the fringier kind of person. He was into art and into a lot of different things, and just opened me up to that. Just being around him opened me up to that. So he got this PV old, just electric. It wasn't old at the time. It's old, but it just a simple PV 4-string bass that wasn't anything special. I think he played it for a little bit. He didn't even take any lessons. And then, as time was going by, he was playing it less and less, and I would see it lying around. And again, when I would see the vacancy, I would go and grab the bass, and as time moved, I just fell in love with this instrument. So it came
Mm.
from the electric bass. And then, I remember another, like, I was into rock music, things like that. Then one day he put the tape, like he put a tape in the tape record, like the
Yeah. Yeah.
boombox, whatever we had
Yeah.
in our room.
Uh-huh.
And he said, like, so if you like Flea and you're like liking all these, by this time he was already okay with me playing his bass. And I was getting better. And he said, like, you like Flea and you like all these, you like Faith No More and you like all these bands, and check this guy out. Everyone says that he's like the legendary bass player. And this was Jaco Pastorius.
Mm.
So he pressed play, and I was just blown away,
Wow.
just blown away by the sound, and just the fact that I also it didn't register. I didn't understand what was happening.
Wow.
So I went on this whole journey of getting to understand jazz, and this is when this beast came into the story. And I guess, yeah, ever since, that's been kind of the love of bass. Yeah.
I think you just answered my next question, because I wanted to ask who inspired you from a young age. It sounded like your grandma was the first.
I think
but
my
then-
grandma, yeah, I think the inspiration is actually from like to start, and that whole thing came from just my household, my brother, and just kind of wanting to do cool things that he was doing, that he was into. I think from my grandma I got something else. I think I got the confidence. You know how this thing, do you have any musicians in your family?
Yeah, we have. I mean, not like professional, but we do have beautiful music. Yeah, my aunt is a cellist, a beautiful cellist.
So where do you get your talent from?
And
Which
my mom,
side?
my mom she has a beautiful voice. She never became a singer, but she has a beautiful voice. When we sing together, we blend so nicely. It's like same voice, kind of almost. And then,
Nice.
but she's a dancer. She did that. That was her passion, and she followed
wow.
that through her life. So there's definitely that artsy thing.
Right.
And my mom loves music. She played everything growing up in our house, all different types of music,
Beautiful.
and then we all took piano. Growing up, we took.
Yeah, so parents are like encouraging the arts all the time.
Yeah.
So I think for us it's a little bit different, but I mean there was some of that too. Less in like a formatted way. No one was forcing us to play anything. But I think what I get from my grandma is kind of like the confidence. You know
Yeah.
how sometimes as a musician, sometimes you get this. I mean, I'm sure people get this in every profession, but you get this kind of like, oh man, I suck. You know, like points in time where you're just like, this,
Yeah.
I got nothing to say. I don't have anything to say. Or what am I doing? Or, you know, and you go back to like the basics, or your roots, and then you're like, this
Yeah.
is in the family.
It's in the
There's
fam.
someone in the family's been who was doing this. I'm not just like pulling this
Yeah.
out of nowhere. Just
It's in
I
your
don't think about,
DNA.
yeah,
Like
I don't think
like
about this a
Kishka's.
lot, but it
Yeah.
is, I think, in there, you know.
It definitely is, for sure.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's great that you grew up around music in your household. That's awesome.
yeah, lots of music, that's for sure.
Yeah. So you grew up in Israel, and you said where in Israel?
So I grew up in Kfar Saba,
Yeah.
which is, you know, Kfar
I
Saba?
do.
You're interesting that people
Yes,
know
I
this
know.
city.
Yoni, my husband's actually from Kfar Saba. So
Really?
that's why when you said that, I was like, I know Kfar Saba. Yeah,
Wow. Well, we need to talk about
for
getting,
sure.
you know, making sure that we're not like total neighbors or something, because there's a lot. It's a
I'm
small
surprised
town.
you guys didn't know each other growing up in such a small.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is a small town.
yeah,
There were 3 years where I lived in Rochester, New York for a few, just my
yeah,
dad is a doctor and just we kind of relocated for a few years.
yeah.
Then we came back to Kfar Saba. It's an interesting town. There's really not, it's like not on the beach. So it doesn't have that glamour that Israeli beach towns have. Um, it's just I think it's a great, just like a solidly great place to live. I tell people sometimes it's kind of like what, like a White Plains.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what Kfar Saba is.
It's like a little bit, right? Is it south? Oh, north of Tel Aviv, a little bit.
It's yeah, it's north of Tel Aviv. It's about 35 minutes. 30, 40 minutes. Well, depends. It's really not far. It's, you know,
Yeah,
15 miles or something. So that's, yeah, that's where I grew up. Small town.
and what do
Lots
you?
of
Yeah.
great musicians who have come
Oh
out
yeah.
of Kfar Saba, believe it or not. So a
Is
lot
there
of
a good
them
music
also.
school around there?
There's yeah, there's a good two music high schools. But in general, I think Israel has some really good music education programs that I
Yeah.
think are really doing a good job of like squeezing out some great musicians,
I have met so many incredible musicians
right?
coming out of Israel over the years. So they're doing something right.
It's the
Yeah.
education with
Yes.
the also I think it's also the drive. I think
Yes.
that anyone who makes a trip over the ocean and lives away from you know from where they're from and comes to a city like this or LA or Nashville, wherever it is, and decides to stay and build a family, it's all around, you know, there has to be a drive
Yeah.
to do something big, you know.
That passion for sure.
Exactly.
So you came without your family. You came by yourself
Yeah, well, I came with my wife.
with your wife.
we
Oh,
I
so that's
can't Yeah,
family. Yeah.
so we lived together in South Tel Aviv
Oh,
in Florentine, which is a really cool artsy neighborhood.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, really nice.
I
Nice
think
is
I've
not the
actually
word.
been there. I think I've been there before. Yeah.
It's cool. It's just one of those places where you walk down the street. Like I remember in those 2-3 years where when we lived in South Tel Aviv, you know, I'd meet friends of mine or musicians, then we'd meet someone else, and all of a sudden, like you'd go into a building that's like across the street from where I was, and like on the third floor, there's a studio that like, just like everything was such a melting pot. This whole neighborhood, I don't know if it's like that still today. Things have kind of changed in Israel, but back then, talking like 15-ish and more years ago, it's very cool. Lots of really great artists in one zip
Oh,
code. Very
wow.
cool. Kind of like New
Nice.
York, but just like in a,
In a smaller little bubble.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Definitely a bubble.
So the first place you moved to was Boston, right? For Berkeley?
Right. So Berkeley brought me in. Just the idea of, you know, passing up on a really nice offer from Berkeley to come
Yeah.
and study. So we kind of decided to drop everything and try it. And
Yeah.
Boston itself as a city wasn't that interesting, but Berkeley is just an
Yeah.
incredible
Oh,
place.
yeah. And you had a great, yeah, your experience was awesome there.
Yeah.
Was it a
You,
culture shock coming from Israel? I mean, you said you had some years in Rochester, but when you were little, but I'm sure it
yeah.
was quite a shock from.
I think Boston was slightly disappointing. It was kind of weird
Oh,
as a person who's coming. So in the U.S., college kids are usually like are usually like 18 to 21, right? So for me, 18 to 21 was when I was in the army,
right,
and then
right.
so then you take 21, you add another 2 3 years where I was um, studying in Israel, then another 2 years where I was like working. I think I came here around week like 25, 26, and that's a weird age to be in Boston,
Yeah.
um,
Huh.
because you're not young like the students,
Yeah.
like the, and then at the same time you're not
Professional.
teaching, and you're not a professor. You're not
Yeah.
a professional there. So it's a weird age to be
Huh.
in Boston. I kind of felt like I was missing out on both ends of it.
Interesting.
Yeah. You went to Juilliard, no?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I think big differences between those schools. I think Berkeley is like a factory,
Yeah.
like a big factory with a lot of really incredible gems. Probably in Juilliard, you knew everyone, right?
It's so small, you knew everybody. I
Right, you
mean,
know
yeah.
everyone.
Especially in like the voice department, when like
True.
you're same people every day, and
Right.
yeah.
Funny you mentioned the voice department. That was my job in Berkeley, was accompanying. I still think
Oh
about
yeah.
that gig every now and then. It's just such a cool thing that they do. It's just like accompanying in the vocal department. So I work x amount of hours a week, just sitting there reading sheet music by different vocalists and just meeting
Oh
so
wow.
many incredible talents. And
Oh wow. That's
that was
pretty
my
cool that you
yeah
did. You were
yeah that
playing. You were accompanying on piano for
yeah
vocalists.
not
Okay.
on bass. I was
Oh, on bass, because
accompanying.
I was gonna say you're.
Yeah, there
Oh
was like a
wow.
band. There was like a crew of maybe, I don't know how many, 10, 15 people who were working in the vocal department
Oh
accompanying. And I was doing that, and for the guitar department too. I just remember
wow.
meeting so many, and like just hearing so many different kinds of vocalists
Yeah.
and learning a lot just from the process of like, they come in and the coaching that they're getting and how everything is sounding. I learned a lot from that little gig in
I'm
Berkeley.
sure.
Those are like little things that Berkeley gives you that you at the moment you're not really thinking of, but then down the line you think back and wow.
Yeah.
And also on to add to that, there's so many musicians who came out from Berkeley and became huge, also from that vocal department, and also um, many people who were at Berkeley at the time who went on to have incredible careers who I didn't even know were there. That's how big this place is.
Wow.
It just
Wow.
spans over so many genres, right? So if you're there and you're focusing on one thing, you're missing out all the other.
Right.
Essentially what I'm saying is you can be there for 10 years.
Wow.
I think you'd be the weirdo who stayed 10 years, but
Yeah.
but you'd still be meeting so many people. There's a lot going on there.
Wow. Sounds like a great place to study.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I miss
know
those
amazing
days.
people have come out of there. It's a great school.
Right. The network is also
So
really
just,
cool.
yeah. Did you study composition there? So I wanted to hear about the
Yeah.
composer in you and your creative process and how you.
Um,
Yeah. Tell us about that.
in Israel, I went to a school called Rimon, which is the kind of major school for contemporary music. And in Rimon, I was all about jazz. It's just like, no, I wouldn't even consider. It was just 100 like super focused on getting to the highest level of improvisation that I could. And it was very focused years. Then when I came to Berkeley, I wanted to expand and look more into composition and music production. And I did this really cool major there that kind of combined the composition and of pop and classical and jazz, and found myself, writing an arrangement for an orchestra, and then at the same time writing a big band arrangement, and then producing like a commercial, and just a mix of things that I was into. And
Great.
looking back, it's such a good decision that I went that route, because I'm using skills from there, you know, constantly, obviously we are all learning all the time as musicians, right? We're
Yeah.
evolving, and but there's some foundations that I got there, like again with the confidence, like knowing that, hey, I've done this, I can do these things, I can totally jump into this and this. And I think it was really, really nice. So that was, yeah. And I was also playing a lot. So basically very busy years.
Yeah.
The immersing yourself in something is really fun. I kind of miss that, right?
Yeah. Well, now you're immersing yourself in your projects and
and my little
parenting
monster who's here.
and your
Yeah.
little monster.
Yeah.
Yes.
Immersing myself in story time and right,
Mm-hmm.
and making food, and you know, and constantly I have an 8-year-old, so it's a really, really cool age.
Yeah.
You'll get there soon, right?
Where
You
they
gotta,
actually make breakfast on their own and
well, not my little guy.
no.
He's far from that, but just the conversations we have,
Yeah.
the jam sessions that we have, like
Aw.
the insight, it's really cool. He's got like the sense of humor. Kids start at that age
His
start to
personality is
understand.
really
Yeah, and cynicism, like you know, like getting a joke that it doesn't go past him. Like if you say something
wow.
cynical, it's just, he gets it. And it's just a whole different level of raising kids. I was not, well, it was also beautiful and fun, but I was not so much into the whole infant toddler age where
Yeah.
you're just, you know, just kind of running around your kid all the time. This is a different vibe. And from what I've heard, a friend of mine told me once, you know, bigger kids, bigger
I hear that
problems,
all the time.
right? It's totally true.
Really?
Yeah, because as a toddler, you never really have like a moment where your stomach pinches you, right? Where
Right, yeah.
your kid says something and you're just like, I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
go to your school, I'm gonna take that kid, and I'm gonna like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, how can I help you?
Uh,
But and so those are like bigger problems that are more complicated, that are more emotional. Whereas, you know, toddlers, it's hard, right? You're not getting sleep and it's constant, you know, but it's not deep, right? It's more about like wipe yourself up and pick
yeah.
that up, and you know, so it's just different, you know.
My 4.5-year-old is asking me major questions now about death.
Uh-oh.
That's been a topic recently because a dog down the street passed away.
Oh.
So she wants to understand that. Now she's asking a lot of questions about it, and she's really asking amazing questions
Wow.
and really feeling scared about getting older.
Wow.
Like understanding that concept. But
I think it's like little dabs of wisdom that they
Yeah.
ask, and then they go back, and then
Yeah.
after a month, all of a sudden you get another big question like that, and
yeah, it's
interesting
amazing.
stuff.
It's fascinating reading children. You learned a lot about yourself too.
Yeah.
process.
What's the name of your dog? I love that dog.
Oh, Butters.
Butters. Wow. It's
Butters
shaggy.
is a life-size stuffed animal, but not stuffed. It's like just this very soft, shaggy dog.
Yeah.
He's a sheepadoodle.
Sheepadoodle.
Yeah.
Incredible.
He's very cuddly, but very hyper. We have to really tame him around the kids because he can nip at them. He nips, that dog.
And he's like excited to play all the time. Yeah.
Always wants to play. Never enough play. Yeah.
Very cool.
It's fun. Yeah. and chaotic.
we're getting constant people constantly being asked to get a dog.
Oh, I'm sure.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, you'll see in New York City. We'll see.
Yeah, not easy.
But so cool. So I want to hear about some of the products you're working on currently.
Cool.
I actually know what you're. Basia Schechter, I know her music, and I'm a fan of hers.
Yeah,
and I know you've been collaborating with her.
Yeah, so Basia, who I've known for years and have done so many different things with, we've always kind of chatted about doing something that's just our thing, our little project. And I was like, she brought this idea. She said, why don't we take these quotes by just spiritual people, wise people, just quotes that are not too cheesy, but quotes that are just like deep quotes that maybe people don't know, and put them to music and make it into something. And then she's really good with the title. So I was like, give me a title. Once I have a title for a project, it gets me involved. Like, And
Nice.
without a name, it's really hard for me to start
Huh.
working. Yeah. Once there's a good name, I get really inspired.
Interesting.
I'm not great at finding the names, but when someone gives me the name of
Mm.
something and I like it, then yeah, it gives me a lot of focus all of a sudden where I need to go with it. So she wanted so she brought up this idea of songs to live by, which is a really cool title. It's just little like these meditational mini messages that
Yeah.
you can grab from wiser people who have seen, have seen things. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a really cool way of sharing these quotes, so we came up with a bunch of quotes. We've done 3 so far, and we have another 3 coming out, so we're hoping to release these, periodically. um and
Okay.
it's yeah, it's also super musically, it's super open. I just jump in the studio and I get to work, and whatever happens. So there's
Mm-hmm.
no genre specific that we're going here. We
I
just
love
want it
that.
to be very meditational. So
Yeah.
very spacey.
Like a mantra, but
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
I know. I've been enjoying them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So I've been,
Yeah.
listening to mantra music myself to get, to get in the mood and to start understanding, and to, the fight here is to minimize, because
Right. Right.
coming from where I come, I come from the lots of notes, lots of stuff, lots of interesting things going on, and now I need to reel it all back and keep it
Yeah.
on hold. And that's what meditational music is about. Like, there's changes, but they happen in a very like gradual way. When you listen to it, it's
Mm-hmm.
just a different thing you need to jump into.
Right.
And which I'm totally all about. If there's something that I don't know in music, a genre that I'm not,
You
I'm
want to
not
explore.
haven't, yeah. So I'm totally into jumping and exploring
That's
it.
great. That's great.
Um, yeah, yeah,
Can we hear something from maybe
totally.
that style that you're working on? And
Yes. Let me share "Peace is the Way," which is
okay.
a song that it's the quote by, I'm never gonna get his name right, but it's a yogi master, like a Zen master, Tibetan. um Fitch you'll see it in the title. I'm
Okay.
not gonna attempt. Hold on a second, I'm gonna share that. So this is called "Peace is the Way." I can share screen, right?
Mm-hmm. You're cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a quick commercial though first. Let me get through that.
This power couple has been with you through a lot.
You can always tell a lot by the commercials that they get on YouTube, right?
Yeah. Totally.
I'm always scared of a commercial will come up and it's gonna be like, oh no, that's embarrassing. Okay. You can hear, right?
Mm-hmm. It's actually a little faint. A little higher.
Ooh.
Okay, no. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to raise the volume. I can send you the link. Do you think that would be better?
You know what? I don't know if that would be better on my end. Not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure that would work. But I heard it. It just was a little bit on the faint side. Like
Yeah, I'm not sure how
But
to turn that up
yeah,
here.
that's okay.
I mean, I could get into it, but then it'd be like all.
Well, we have some more. I want to hear some more stuff
Yeah.
too that you're doing. But I love
Cool.
that. That's cool.
Um,
I get into that stuff, the mantra.
There's something I that was really cool that we did. Do you know Soul Farm? Do you know C and Noah? You know
Yeah,
Noah.
of
Of course you
course.
know
No,
Noah.
he's on my show a couple
Do
months
it, did he
ago.
come in? Yeah.
Yeah,
You let
yeah.
that guy on your
I
show?
let that. Oh, and boy, did he get a lot of attention. So
He did?
funny.
Yeah, of course
He's
he
just
did.
funny. He's just
He's, yeah, funny and
so
incredible.
talented. Yeah.
Um, we did something because I've been playing with Soul Farm for a few years now.
Oh yeah,
And
I didn't even. That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
And um, so yeah, and there's a few songs that Noah and I wrote together that are coming out soon, so that'll be good.
I
There's one that
cannot
we wrote.
wait.
Yeah, there's one that we wrote in Hebrew that's gonna be great. So this is one that actually Noah gave me some text. This was early on in the pandemic. Right away, we kind of wanted to make something. So this was one of those window square videos that everyone later on was making as well. But if you look at the date, you'll see that this is pretty early on in the pandemic. I think.
Let's see.
What is it? April 17th. That's pretty good, no?
Yeah,
Before
that's
before
like a
the
year
before
ago.
we got before
That's a
people
year.
got sick of the squares.
Yes, that was a year. That's exactly. Yeah.
Here, I'll put this
People
on.
are not asking the right questions. They're not asking the right
Definitely
questions
hear that.
because they kind of
This
think
is
they all
louder.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't know what happened with the other one. So this is called a hakol, and it's just kind of a message of hope. We did this kind of remotely. This was when the scare was, nobody would even dare come close to any. A month later, it was like the
I saw this.
epicenter,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So this is called a kol. A kol in Hebrew is everything, means everything. Here we go.
Okay.
הכל בידי שמיים חוץ מיראת שמיים הכל בידי שמיים אין ייאוש בעולם כלל. הכל בידי שמיים חוץ מיראת שמיים הכל בידי שמיים אין ייאוש בעולם
Beautiful. That was so nice.
Yeah, it's funny how music brings you back even a year. Even a year, usually when you listen to music, you're like, oh my God, I'm back in the 90s. I'm back 10 years when I made this. This is only a year ago, and it was such a different time,
Yeah. Oh, it was very different a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we come a long way. We're finally getting the vaccine and seeing the light.
Absolutely.
But wow, that was just so relaxing and soothing and
Right? You can
very,
feel, like I
yeah.
said, I mean, I'm not gonna make anything that's not like this is what came out of that studio at the moment. I guess that's
Yeah.
what I was feeling, we were feeling.
Yeah, well, that's so great you guys are collaborating together. Two
Oh
such
yeah.
talented
These guys
musicians.
are like a family. It's a really,
Oh,
like, really, really
oh,
great people.
so
With a
great.
lot of fortunate, they've been like having amazing careers, and and they're just good people.
Mm-hmm.
It's I really enjoy hanging with Soul Farm.
That's awesome. Yay. We have another mutual friend, Vasco, who we mentioned earlier, yeah, who's in your.
AKA the Chinese
I
spy
know
or
his
whatever.
story is so
Yeah,
depressing. Really,
absolutely.
really,
Right.
really, yeah. You want to tell a little bit about that, and then tell us about how you formed your group. I want to hear kind of how
Yeah.
that evolved.
Vasco and I go back, like when I think of New York, he was one of the first people that I collaborated in New York, and we had a little, like, a band that we tried to make together with a sitar player, just a bass, clarinet, and sitar, which kind of rolled off and didn't happen. And then we tried. Vasco, I remember, told me he wants to take his. He's a clarinet player, for anyone who's listening. Clarinet player, and went to school with Talya and Juilliard. He's a classically trained, and originally from Macedonia. And Vasco told me he wanted to take traditional songs from his heritage and just kind of spice them up, bring something new to them. Maybe do them in a different instrumentation, maybe arrange them differently. And we went on this trip together with just this music. To me, was totally new music, but at the same time had some vibe that I kind of recognized, being someone who grew up in the Middle East. So, like, all these regions have some commonality between them.
Yeah.
So this is like Eastern European Macedonian music is very like clarinet oriented and very melodic and interesting. It's haunting music, and we started working on these tunes together. At some point, we brought Dan into the story, Mr.
Yes.
Nadel, and
Yes.
who's a incredible flamenco guitar player, and
He was just on a couple weeks ago.
right.
Yeah,
So
Dan,
I
yeah.
hope yeah, and
Yeah, three of you, and then you brought another one, right?
So yeah, I mean, we started working together. We had in the beginning, it was 2 Macedonians and 2 Israelis, which was really cool.
Yeah.
We were playing with Alex Petrov, was a tapan player, which is a kind of a Turkish Macedonian drum.
Nice.
And that was our first album, was with Alex. So it was 2 Macedonians, 2 Israelis. You can just imagine. It sounds like a joke, beginning for a joke. Lots of screaming in the rehearsal, lots of loudness.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure.
really, really fun. And then Alex went back to Paris, and we started working with Takeshi, with Satoshi.
Right.
And Sato is just on another level of mastery, and just took the music to a whole different place. And with him, we released another album that's called Sonic Pollination, that we was sitting there basically done, and then the pandemic hit.
Wow.
And we just kind of decided, let's just release it.
Oh, wow.
But previous to the pandemic, what happened in the summer before it, and not so, like fall, just basically 4 months before the pandemic, 4 or 5 months, basically Vasco, after years of being in the US, growing up here, basically he was here as a teenager already.
Yeah.
I think he got, I don't know the exact citizenship situation. I mean, I know the story, but without getting into details, he couldn't stay here anymore, which was a total shock for me. Just like losing a great friend who can't be here, and is married, and his wife is from China, and they had a music school here that they started in Queens, and they had, he's playing with, huge artists, and they both have just these really incredible, fruitful, productive careers here in the US. And just, it was a different administration, and this was the height of that going on, and it's just very disconcerting how it happened, and the fact that you just can't reverse it easily either. And I think it broke him, you know, morally. He kind of decided like, this has been hard enough in the US. So just a note on how we treat, you know, people who want to be here, who want to work, who want to contribute, who are contributing, who are doing huge things for this country as well, right?
Yeah, that's horrible.
So yeah, that was a big hit. Luckily, he's doing well in China, and he's getting, you know, he's making noise in his way over there. So they look like they're happy, and you know, I'm happy for them, and hoping to see them at some point. You know.
Yeah. You're still able to do stuff and collaborate over the.
But it's
in person, but it's not the same. Like,
no, and right, and we heard the Soul Farm song a second ago. That's so. Certain genres are easier to do remotely, right? Like pop, like pop music or songs that have just a form to them. But this group has a different.
Yes.
Like,
say the name of the group again.
It's called Tavche Gravche.
Yes, I love that name.
What does that mean? It's the national dish of Macedonia.
I love that.
Yes. Nobody can get the name right. It's part of the magic of this whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a collaboration. Everyone really brought their personality into this project. And we released this album just basically also last spring. We had Mimi Berkova, who's a Bulgarian singer, and she sat in on 2 songs with us. And it just, like I said, haunting, and it just came out. And I'll share one song that she did with us. That
you have a fabulous sound. Your group, I love.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I had you out of the synagogue. I don't remember my Carigans. I'm sure they remember that we had you out that one time. It was so great, so fun.
Yeah, I hope this band can figure out the border.
You got to do a tour once this is.
Yes, that'll be the only way to make this happen in the next few years at least. Yeah. So this is actually this is, hold on. Yes. This is what I wanted to share for a second, I thought. So this is a whole story that Mimi always tells when we perform this. There's like a whole story behind it. It's a folk song in Bulgarian, and we took it and completely just did something else to it musically. And
what's the story about? Real quick.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna.
Oh, sorry.
This is why I'm a bass player and not a.
Okay.
I feel like vocalists have all their stories together, and they're used to, you know.
Well, where we deal with words, so
right,
most of the time. Sometimes we do with vocalies.
There is a story here. It's like one of those kind of folkloric. There's a moral to the story at the end. I think it has to do with these horsemen who are showing up and wanting to kind of trick this pretty lady in a small village somewhere. You would have to hear Mimi tell the story.
Let's see if we can get whatever we can get.
Yes, maybe you can get it just by her vibe, by how she sings.
Let's check it out.
Here we go.
and her face at the end.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool. That was great. Really,
Thank you.
really, really, really nice.
It's a really pretty album. I'm proud of this album. We never got to do our release tour,
Aw.
but the music in this album is really cool.
It is.
Good arrangements and just like very. We when a group evolves, we look back into how the first album was and how how things have evolved, and we're all kind of in agreement that this album just represents something that we kind of nourished and got bigger and bigger. So hoping to see more of that once we figure out how to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope that very soon you can get back out there and start performing at all the places you used to perform at, and
Right.
start traveling
And for the
again.
congregants, right?
Yes,
For your congregants. Have you
yes,
seen them?
Well, we do bar mitzvahs in person, and we do life cycle events mostly in person. So,
Right, but not services.
but services have been still on Zoom. Yeah.
Right.
But in May we're gonna actually be having our first in person. I think May 7th. So
That's exciting.
Zissel will come out. Zissel, Zissel?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll come out for that. And
Nice.
so that's exciting. Yeah, things are gonna slowly come back. I'm hopeful. So.
I think so too.
And I hope New York City, I hope it doesn't take too long before the
Before it's
music world
bumping again?
Before it's bumping again, right?
Listen, I live in Harlem. There is no shortage of bumpage going on.
Really? Yeah, it's
out
all
there.
over. Yeah.
I mean, it's weird. Certain things are weird. Like I haven't been on the subway and
Yeah.
who knows how long and things like
Right.
that. But the actual like movement on the street and everything, the energy and the volume, and it's definitely there.
Well, that's
so-
good to know that has not.
Oh yeah, of course. I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't worry for
The
a second.
spirit lives on, and the music.
Yes.
The music has to live on. Yes.
Of course.
So.
Of course.
Well, I loved our interview today. Thank you so much
Yay.
for coming on our show. Is there anything else you'd like to just say or?
I don't know how many
share?
hours you have. I've
I
got
know.
more than no.
We're nearing the end of the hour.
Of course,
but
of course.
it's been fun and getting to know you a little bit better and your background and your.
This is really amazing that
journey.
you're doing this podcast. This is so cool.
Thanks. It's so fun.
Such a
It's a great excuse for me to connect with old friends and meet new ones and just highlight what you guys are doing and all the talents out there.
Yeah. And it's good. It's fun to reflect and it's fun to talk about it and and like you said, and touch base after so long. So it's a good excuse. All these
And you're going to be
excuses.
coming Friday night.
Yes.
Actually virtual. We are
I'm
having
not coming.
you-
I'm walking over to the living room.
You're going to the living room and you're going
Yes.
to do your thing for us.
Yes,
With your
I'm gonna
bass.
play some Israeli songs on my. I'm just gonna jump between this guy and my looper, and I'm just gonna try to be a one-man band.
I
which is
love
not-
it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to experience that. Yom
Yes.
HaAtzmaut celebration
Yes.
for our congregation.
Happy
Everybody,
birthday to Israel.
come on for services that night for sure, because we have some talent coming on right here. We have a great guy coming on. So now everybody knows a little bit more about you, so it's more personal. Yeah.
Gotta come.
Gotta come. All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Talya.
Thank you. And have a wonderful evening. Say hi to Dana.
You too.
And,
You say hi to your fam, and I hope to see them. And
Yes.
stay safe, guys. And this was awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. Stay well, and I'll talk to you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in with Talya tonight, and see you next week, 6 p.m. Wednesday night for my show. Bye.